Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bangladesh Weekly Roundup. I am SAQUIB Ali, your host. Today is 26 March 2023, the 53rd anniversary of our Independence Day. The week we are talking about is from 20th March to 26th March, and we are, as usual, going to talk a little about what happened during this week, but also we want to say a few words about the 53rd Independence Day and how we should look at our experience so far and how it can inspire us to go ahead in future. I think the most important happening this week was the issuance of the Human Rights Report by the United States State Department for 2022. Regarding Bangladesh, I would like to take a few minutes to talk about this, because regarding Bangladesh, it says, Prime Minister has most power. Election of 2018 was rigged. The security forces maintained internal security and committed numerous abuses. I'm paraphrasing what they said. They have impunity. That means they are not held to account, and there are serious problems with the judiciary. This is basically the summary of the report. They have talked about arbitrary and unlawful killings, crossfires, encounters. They have talked about the disappearances of the organization Dhaka. They've talked about torture, arbitrary arrest, detention. They've talked about respect of civil rights in Section 2. Talked about the Digital Security Act, and that how the government has lodged many cases against opposition leaders, and so that the freedom of peaceful assembly was violated and was curbed. Section 3 talks about the political process, which is 2018 elections, civil and criminal cases against opposition party leaders, Chhatra League violence. Section 4, they talk about corruption and lack of transparency in government. Now, Section 5 talks about government resistance towards international and non-governmental investigation of alleged abuses of human rights. Number 6 talks about discrimination and societal abuse, rape, gender-based violence, systemic racial or ethnic violence and discrimination. And Section 7 talks about worker rights, which basically says they don't have any to form trade union and so on. Now, let me try to add all these things together. The government uses its security forces and judiciary to crack down on anybody who is opposing them effectively. Once they had the judiciary and the police and the security forces within their hands, at their disposal, then they curbed all mass medias. So the mass medias could not speak anymore. And once there was no mass media which was independent, so nobody would be able to know what is happening. it is here at this stage that the country was captured by the ruling party. It is then that they entered into all kinds of malpractices, economic malpractices, like doing government contracts, giving government contracts to their cronies, then, taking bank loans and not paying them. These are also their cronies. And then bribery, government funds embezzlement through infrastructure building and other ways. So, and at that point, if anybody protested, they were going to be seriously, severely suppressed. The human rights abuses that the US State Department is talking about is only the final action which keeps this huge robbery of the exchequer possible, sustainable. In United States, there is a law called Racketeering Influenced Corruption Organization, which is about organized crime. According to, if I remember correctly, according to this law, more than 3 persons discussing ways to break federal laws in a regular fashion so that they can earn regular money is punishable under this act as organized crime. When the bureaucracy, the political parties, police, judiciary, and business people are in a syndicate conspiring, I think this should be considered an organized crime. Well, our minister, information minister, said for this report that this report is biased. Our leaders, our ruling party ministers, they said this report is one-sided. Let us talk about few news items that happened this week. There was, and by that I will show you that how accurate this human rights report is. This week, a CID inspector named Aksaduzzzaman, we are going to talk about him. Supposedly, he had robbed a migrant worker back in 2020 and robbed him of $5,000 and 2,000 dirhams, which is roughly equivalent to $600. Then that person had lodged a case. The case went to the detective branch. The additional deputy commissioner, Mr. Kaisar Ahmed Qureshi, got this charge. They quickly identified Mr. Aksaduzzzaman, the CID SI sub-inspector, as him and +5 as perpetrators of this robbery. He asked for 2 crore Dhaka, which is roughly about $200,000, from Mr. Aksaduzzzaman and others in Mr. Aksaduzzaman's gang. And then they paid this. This happened in, I think, November, I think. This happened in 2020. So they paid 1 crore 46 lakh taka, which is roughly again $140,000. But the the detective branch could not let this CID inspector go off, couldn't get him off from the case, and Mr. Aksaduzzzaman lost his job. And then he gave written complaints, and probably he gave written complaints before, and then he lost his job. But the final situation is that the Home Ministry has found out that the additional Deputy Commissioner of Detective Branch is guilty of taking money from the sub-inspector. So we have an additional Deputy Commissioner of Police, which is a BCS cadre. He is supposed to be the cream of the officer corps, and he is taking this money. And you are seeing, at the same time, you are seeing that the CID inspectors are robbing people. Last week we talked about Araf Khan, and that he was killing, and that he had killed a police inspector or sub-inspector, and that he was being supported by, supposedly, by a retired Inspector General of Police. We were talking last week about the Ghazipur Police Commissioner supposedly had taken $150,000, which was an accusation made by a film actress who is also a member of Awami League. So we can see that the corruption that the report is talking about, the impunity the report is talking about, the way the police breaks laws, arbitrarily detains people, we have got this news which corroborates it. This week, the Foreign Ministry has written to Bangladesh Embassy in Washington, D.C., my old haunt, where the Bangladesh Embassy had supposedly embezzled about $146,000, the money which was received for CEDAR assistance back in 2007, and all of a sudden in 2020 or 2022, within a few days, this account was cleaned up. This should not happen. But why is this happening? If you remember, a few days back, few programs back, we talked about that the Prime Minister is misleading the bureaucrats. The Prime Minister is telling them that you will be the fighter for employment. And I said that they cannot be the fighter for whatever reason, and you can go back to that program. During this week, the Deputy Commissioner of Rangpur was irate that a university teacher did not call her as sir. This week, a judge had her daughter's classmate's mother come and touch the feet of the judge to make her apologize. So, in this state capture, the bureaucracy has become the enabler of oppression. And we are seeing the symptoms, the total, not only symptoms, the total result of that. Few days back, I was looking at a video, and there they were talking about a book called Corruptible. You see, from 1972 onwards, we have devised a system in which we pick up people who want to be sirs, who want to lord over people, not to serve people, but to lord over people. I have heard that many people from Awami League has been taken, Chhatro League has been taken into the government service. Maybe many of them are like that. The governments for last 53 years had tried to make a bureaucracy which will enable oppression and tyranny over people in the name of law and order, development, democracy, so on and so forth, or liberation, the spirit of liberation and all that. This is the truth. The truth is that our government servants are acting against the people, and the words that they're using, these words have lost all meaning. They have become cliches. They have become cliches because we have overused them. We have taken all original meaning out of it. There is no word which is service. There is only lordship, sirship. And this is what is bound to happen in a country which is not democratic. I have seen the same thing in Pakistan. I have seen the same thing in China. It is the way when undemocratic countries are undemocratic, the government officials are going to behave in this way, and they are going to be anti-people. So I could talk about our regular people's terrible, terrible stories of their suffering with the price rise of food. There are news reports are coming of killing of all the members of the families and then going to commit suicide by people who cannot afford this lifestyle anymore. At the same time, the Prime Minister is saying things which is absolutely not, doesn't go with the reality. She's in another reality. It is in this context that we are going to look at the 53 years of our so-called independent life. I am proud of Bangladesh. I'm proud of the people of Bangladesh. I love the people of Bangladesh. But we made many mistakes, and we should embrace our mistakes. We should not think that, no, we will not do that mistakes. Well, we did wrong and we shouldn't do this wrong. No. We made mistakes and we should know what are the lessons of that. Only then we can ensure that we will not make this mistake again. And what are those lessons? The lesson is that if you let the fox guard the hens will be eaten up. The lesson of the last 50 years is that the fox has developed a system that rewards corruption, violence, oppression, and extreme loyalty to group loyalty, extreme group loyalty. And all is covered with a propaganda machine. This system needs to change. This system which makes the bureaucracy against people, the system which rewards this corruption, this violence, this oppression needs to change. But how to change? Well, we'll talk about that too. The other thing I want to say is that we have a fundamental misunderstanding regarding how we are going to develop ourselves. We have to understand that for the European countries, they had Christian ethics on the basis of which they built their democratic value system. We have to understand that Korea and Japan had a Confucian system by which they had developed their system. My point is, what is the ethical system for Bangladesh? Is it Islam? Given the baggage of political Islam in Bangladesh, perhaps that will not be the most ideal, but we do get our values from Islam. And we must get our values from a universal love for people, which was practiced by the mystics of Indian subcontinent, of Bengal and everywhere. If we do not have an ethical basis, why would we do good for other people? It is because of that, I think the ethical basis, the question of ethical basis is very important. If we do not have love for our people, why would we do things for people? Our leaders have never shown any love. And that's why they could dehumanize the Bangladeshi people to oppress them, to deprive them of their rights. I would like to say to the elite that don't be a tool. Don't be that person who lacks the mental capacity to understand that they are being used. I know that you have had good last 14 years, but it is time to separate yourself from this sinking ship. Now, how can we do this? How can we change this system? But what I would like to say is that we have to start small, that we have to start with baby steps. I think that the people, if I divide people, oversimplifying the people of Bangladesh, we can say a group which loves humanity and a group which hates humanity. A group which promotes love, the other group which promotes hatred, division. The group which promotes hatred and division, they are in power. It is the people who love humanity. They are the ones who are being repressed. They are the ones who are fearful. I hope that the people who love humanity will get together, will give up that fear, will quit that fear as much as possible, and they will also get together and know each other, because these people, if they do not stand together, humanity will not be, we will not be able to save humanity in Bangladesh. Now, how that get together can take place, I leave it up to you. Let us have some suggestions so that after some time, say after Eid, we can meet together, because once we meet together, only then exchange of ideas and emotions take place, and only then our togetherness becomes effective resistance against oppression of the people of Bangladesh. Today, with this, I bid you goodbye. God bless you, and Ramadan Mubarak. Thank you.